Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts. Welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio here on Saturday, January 23rd, 2021. And hope everyone's having a nice Saturday wherever you are in the world. And I've mentioned this with my most recent interviews for January, but I'm typically a person that doesn't like to ask for tips or donations and that kind of thing. And but this streaming service that I used is not free. So I'm getting to a point where I do need to kind of ask for things if you're so inclined only. I completely understand if you're not in a position to help out. I'm in that position right now, which is why I'm asking people. But there is a PayPal me donation link on my Facebook page. I just posted it about like an hour ago. Any live stream that I've done on YouTube, you'll go into the description. You'll see the link there. And it's also on the About section on Twitch. There's a link there as well. So again, only if you're inclined. And I'd like to thank at least, I'm not sure if people want their names mentioned, so I'm just going to say their first names or their handle. I want to thank Steve for making a sizable donation, which really shocked me. I was really appreciative of that. Ken and Captain Blackwood, Industrial Girl, and also Tom that have made donations in January. It helps keep these live streams going, and that's just kind of where things are at. So again, thank you for considering that, and we're going to get going with our part 2 of Tales from the Road. My guest today is one of the main reasons the fans get to see their favorite artists on the road. Once we get back to being on the road, he is responsible for every life inside the tour bus. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Mr. Ed Craig. Hey, Ed.
Hey, man.
How you doing over there?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on back.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it was great last time. I had a good time.
So did I. I think it was a really like we were talking pre-show, a really informative interview. And High Industrial Gold down in East LA. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. And also thank you for your donation recently. Again, I sincerely appreciate that. But yeah, it's great to have you back for part 2. I love getting to talk to guests further and getting to know more details, and especially in your case, because you got so many things you could be talking about. And I mean, I learned some things, 15 minutes before we went live. So, hi, Beatrice. Nice to see you as well. Hopefully things are good in Portugal.
Hey, Bea. I'm wearing your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
This is her new shirt. The new long sleeves. They're awesome. She sent one for myself, my wife, and my son. She's so nice.
That's awesome. I got my cancer slug shirt on, so
yeah, you gotta have it,
And Industrial Girl says she's been looking forward to this, so this is going to be cool. And for those that maybe somehow missed the first part that we did in November or didn't have a chance to look on YouTube or Facebook, Ed, let people know, what do you do?
Well, depends on who the artist is, but I drive the tour bus, make sure they get to wherever we're going safely. And at the same time, I make sure everybody's safe when we're not driving. When we're in a club, I'm not going to let anybody mess with any of my guys. If somebody wants to get an attitude and be stupid, they have to deal with me. And it's usually not a good thing.
It doesn't end well for that person.
No.
I'm completely curious. Ed, how tall are you?
6'4".
Okay, all right. I know that's why I always just kind of refer to you as Big Ed, because I'm 5'5". So
yeah, Alex gave me that name. For years it's just been Big Ed, and it stuck.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. And for people that are watching this, Ed and I kind of knew of each other, and then he was actually on the tour bus back in 2018 with Beatrice when I took the cancer slug mark for the second time. And that's when I also noticed the tattoo on his hand. So I was like, there's a brother right there. Yeah, totally.
But you, the way you took it, I want no part of that. Tattoos are fine. Alex isn't coming near me with a knife.
Oh man, it's funny to me that it seems like that was like a long time ago, just because of the pandemic year and all that kind of stuff. And when I think about it, it was 2018 and it was December of 2018. So it wasn't that long, but it seems like it was like 5, 6 years ago or something, just because of
Yeah, it's only been 2 years, but it feels like forever.
yep, because all the shit we've been dealing with the last year, or almost over a year now, really out here in Seattle. Um,
Yeah.
but I want to kind of jump into a couple things. Well, kind of jump around. One thing I saw you said on social media fairly recently was that you got a shout out from John Five.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
kind
If you watch, so he released a live concert DVD that was filmed over a few different shows that we did on the last two tours. Um, and that's now on Amazon Prime. So it's free if you have Amazon Prime. It's John Five and the Creatures. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, this sucks. Live Invasion.
of okay?
John Five and the Creatures Live Invasion. It's like a 45-minute, show. And at the end of it, he put my name in the credits, and which I thought was awesome. And I didn't know that. Somebody texted me and sent me a screenshot of it, and I'm like, "The hell is this?" And then about 2 weeks ago, John Five was on the Eddie Trunk show, and I listened to Eddie Trunk every day. And he started talking about. He was like, "Hey, my driver Eddie Craig, he's a huge Eddie Trunk fan. I know he's listening, so I wanted to say hi and all this." So yeah, right there on the Eddie Trunk show, he was talking about me.
Man, that's fucking awesome. That's gonna make
Yeah, it blows me away.
yeah, it's gonna make you feel so good.
Yeah,
Um, that, like you're saying, artists that you're a fan of, and they think that highly of you, that they treat you with that level of respect, that they want to, basically give you a shout out on national or international radio, really.
yeah, yeah. He's worldwide.
Yeah.
So John Five's a sweetheart. I got hooked up with John Five through Doyle, and I'll tell you right now, I've learned that Doyle does not have shitty friends. If if you are allowed in Doyle's circle, you are a good person. And it just goes to show why everybody I've met through Doyle is the same. There's not one shitty bone in their body. So it's great.
That and you know what that says a lot. They talk about the friends you keep,
Right.
and so yeah, if his circle's like that, then it's like it reminds me a little bit when I've not a little bit, a lot of when I was on tour with Alice, that if they wanted me to interview a friend of theirs, I didn't have to think twice about it. So I know they're going to be, if they said they're cool, then they're cool. And I already know it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's,
it's great. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it when you don't have to really judge, a person. Or not, I don't want to say judge, but try to figure a person out and see if you really want to do something with them or open up to them in a certain way. If they, like, for me, if they're friends with Doyle, I'm with them 100%.
yeah, no, that's awesome. And Beatrice, thank you so much for the donation. I just saw your comment, and I sincerely appreciate that. So again, thank you so much. I hate asking for things like that, but the fact that you made a donation is really cool.
Some
Um,
in this pandemic, sometimes you have to ask for help, and it sucks, but sometimes you have to.
and that's where things are at right now. And hopefully down the road, it'll start, turning around a corner, and I won't be asking for the help. But yeah, right now that's kind of where I'm at. So, but yeah, it's with I'm trying to think. When we were talking in November, Ed, you started doing the Doyle tours. Was that 2014 or 15? You told me.
I think we figured it out back then. At that first interview, it was 16, I think,
Okay.
15 or 16, 16.
Okay. All right. Um, so that means I can't even talk right now. What's going on? Got a weird Seattle accent. It makes no sense. That so you were here then in, like, I think it was, what, March of 2018 when the band came to El Corazon, and then they came back in December of the same year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know what's funny about Corazon? I mean, first off, hopefully they stay open. There was rumors that they were getting shut down and demolished and turned into condos or something, but I hope that's not. I hope that doesn't go through because that place is great, and a lot of history. That should be a landmark, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyways, the bar next door. If you sit at the center of that bar and you look directly up at the wall, there's a picture of Fred Durst and it says no Dursting. I have no fucking clue what that means. No Dursting, but I laugh so hard every time I'm in there, and I take a picture of it and I send it to all my friends. For some, I don't know why, but it makes me laugh so fucking hard. I don't know what Dursting is, but
You know, it's funny. I don't know what it is either. And as many times as I've been in that bar, I don't remember seeing that now.
yeah, it's right there in the middle, up at the top.
Well, the next time I'm there, when again, hopefully they stay open and can open the doors and have a band back, I'll have to make sure that I go and look up and see exactly what you're talking about.
It's great. You'll laugh your ass off.
Oh my gosh! But and you kind of mentioned this before, but your schedule when you're driving the tour bus, it's going to obviously has to be a little bit off. The band is going to eventually fall asleep while you're on the road trying to get to the next city, and
Right.
then you got to be sleeping at some point, whether probably either doing the show or getting set up or some kind of in between part. And what's a typical day like if we use DOYLE, like back in 2018 as an example? What's a typical day for you, like if you had to get from Seattle to Portland or vice versa or something like that?
Well, so it depends on the drive and it depends on who I'm working for.
Okay.
So, like you said, DOYLE. We use DOYLE as an example. We'll leave after the show. We'll leave wherever we're at. Say we leave Portland, and we'll go to, and the next show's in Seattle. We'll go to Seattle, and we'll figure out where we're going to go, whether it's a Walmart or a hotel or whatever, and we'll park. So that's not that long of a drive. We get to Seattle, and usually Brandon's straight. He's still up and just funny. He's the funniest person I know. And so him and I'll just hang out for a while and then, go to sleep. And then when we get up, it's time to go to the club. And, well, at that time, so my sleep schedule has changed because it wasn't that long of a drive. So we go to the club and I help load all the gear in, check everything out. This is part of Richie and I working together so well, like we talked about before.
Hmm.
Um, then maybe before the show, we take a little nap, get up and do the show, and then load out, and we're off to the next destination. However, if it's a long drive, if it's going to be a 10, 12-hour drive, then I change my sleep schedule so that I'm asleep while they're on stage, so that
Okay.
I wake up an hour before we leave, before our bus call time. That way I get, plenty of sleep right before a long drive.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
don't, and, we talked about last time, I don't get to see every show,
Hmm.
but, for the most part, I see a lot of shows. Now, if it's somebody else that I'm not a fan of, then I'll just keep the same schedule throughout the whole tour. I'll just wake up an hour before we're going to leave, and then my day revolves around that. And then, I'll sleep while they're on stage. If I don't have any desire to go watch the show, then why worry about changing everything up?
Right. Right. Okay.
So if I'm there just for a paycheck.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like when you're talking about for like in Doyle's case, for a band that you do want to try to see the shows, is it hard for
Yeah.
you to try to get to sleep when you have to keep changing your sleep schedule around?
No, no, it's just you kind of get used to it every once in a while. A couple Tylenol PMs to help you out, but don't get too crazy on it.
Okay.
Um, but on the road, it's just something your body gets used to.
Okay. I'm just thinking for myself that like almost anytime I'm somewhere that's foreign to me, I usually have a hard time trying to get to sleep, just like in a hotel room or somewhere on vacation after a couple of days. So I'm thinking if I'm on the road in a tour bus, I'd probably never get to sleep until I'm just freaking dead tired. Um,
The first couple days on the bus are the hardest. It's the hardest to get used to, but then your body just kind of adapts.
okay. And I see your better half says hi, and I love you, Eddie. And yeah, I'm absolutely my pleasure, Tara, to have Ed back on. It was great having him the first time. It's going to be great this time, and who knows, maybe there'll be a third time too. Um,
She's great. She's my right hand man, or right hand woman. I'd be lost without her. I tell her that all the time, but she doesn't believe me.
sounds like something I would like to do. Industrial Girl says, "Okay, well, yeah,
be, be careful what you wish for.
yeah." Ed, you were also telling me that before we went live, that something that I don't think about, and maybe a lot of fans that are watching this now or watching this in the future, that when I think of bands on the road and tour bus drivers, I don't really think about the weather that other maybe like snow or something trying to get over a pass. But you described some things before we went live that if you wouldn't mind kind of letting everybody out there know some of the things you've had to deal with just being on the road and how Mother Nature can kind of make things pretty freaking hairy.
Yeah. So I was on tour with Chelsea Grin, um, doing support for, who was it? Chelsea Grin. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We were headed to Seattle, and the whole tour, there was 4 bands. We all got stuck in the same place. They had the highway closed because of snow. So we sat in a Walmart parking lot, all of us, for like 3 days. Um, snow's the worst thing. You don't want to drive in snow and ice. Um, the one time with Doyle, we left a show and we just get right down the road a little bit, and a fucking tornado comes right through. I mean, to where I told everybody, I said, sit down, hold on. We're going another mile down the road to a truck stop, but here's what's happening. So, it was serious. And they could tell, by my voice, I was serious. Sit down, hold on. I don't know what's going to happen. So we made it. And then, let's see, with Cobra, we were talking about this. Cobra, I think we were in Corpus Christi, Texas, and we were headed to Louisiana, and the weather had been fine. It was a little cloudy during the day, but as soon as we pulled out of the club, within 5 minutes, it started raining so fucking hard and the wind was blowing, and find out that some tropical storm popped up and it followed us for days until we got to Florida. I mean, we did 2 shows. Let's see, we did 2 shows in Louisiana and one in the Panhandle of Florida, and that same storm poured on us the whole time and wind. And then we went down to Orlando, and finally it cleared up, and we had 3 days off in Orlando, so it was great.
Yeah.
And Industrial Girl says part 3. I agree with you. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something that's going to be happening in the future for sure. Part three, and um, I've been telling other people too that I'm so fortunate. It's one of the silver linings of this time that typically when I get to talk with you in person for maybe an hour, 2 hours, probably not, depending if you're busy because you have a job to do or you're sleeping or you're loading in, loading out, kind of a thing. Same thing with the other guests that I've had. Beatrice would be a good example. When we did her interview back in October, it was over 2 hours. Would I be able to sit and talk with her for 2 hours, before she goes on stage? Probably not.
Right.
So I'm super.
Right. There's no time.
Yeah.
When we're on the road, our time is, unless it's the middle of the night and we're, parked somewhere, there's no driving, we're already at the next city. That's our downtime.
Mhm.
The rest of the day, we're just busy going, going, and going.
Right, exactly. And that's why I know, like, for myself, and I actually had to get out of this mindset once I started doing these virtual interviews last year, was that typically they're going to, the tour manager or the publicist prior to that will tell me, you're going to have probably 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at tops to do an interview. And then if there's other media, they got to get them in. If there's not, then maybe you'll have a few more minutes. But yeah, it's really like it's secondary to the show, which it should be. The show is everything.
Right.
Um, and in these cases, so I'm kind of I have to remind myself that, man, take advantage of these opportunities that I have now because, again, 30 minutes is a gift to sit down with anyone to be able to talk with them. Because once we get back to shows, which is the ultimate goal, obviously, um, most likely that's not going to happen unless I do this kind of thing, in between, sandwich stuff in. So,
Speaking of doing shows, um, so I've been on the phone the last couple of days. I can't announce who it is, but I want to say once the country opens back up, get ready. We're doing 50 states, 50 shows in 50 days. We're going to do
wow.
all 50 states, Alaska and Hawaii included. 50 shows, 50 states, 50 days. So excited for this. We had a conference call last night. I couldn't believe it.
Woo. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome news.
Yeah,
I can completely understand why you're excited, and you can't wait for all of us can't wait for the freaking country to open back up again,
right.
and get things moving forward. 50 states, 50 days, 50 shows.
It's
Uh,
all going to be. We're going to bring a documentary crew with us. It's going to all be made into a documentary. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. There's so many things we're going to do.
wow,
Yeah,
that's a tremendous tease.
yeah. I mean, maybe by part three I'll be able to announce it. Um, it hasn't been announced yet, so I can't really say who.
Sure.
We're in the planning stages, so and the whole crew and band are all taking like an equal part in planning it. We're
Okay.
all bringing our ideas together, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Well, and I'm excited for you, man. That's awesome news, and yeah, it's gonna be. I'll keep watching your social media kind of stuff, and kind of especially as things start to creak open and the light starts coming back in, and some shows
Right.
start happening. I'll know that your plans and some other bands' plans are start to actually become reality again.
Hey Jeff, how you doing, buddy? That's a good friend of mine, Jeff.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. Appreciate it. And he's on Facebook. Nice. Okay. Um, has anything else been kind of percolating beyond this eventual tour?
Yeah, I I received an email or a text the other day. Um, Black Satellite, we're supposed to go out this fall. Hopefully that happens. I hope I was allowed to announce that, but um, anyways, there it is. Um, other than that, it's been kind of dead, and festivals are already canceling,
Yeah.
and they're just like they're not even trying to delay it. They're just completely canceling them until 2022. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Hopefully we can get back out there this year.
Mhm.
Hopefully, man, I would leave tomorrow if I could. I'm ready. I'm antsy. I'm ready to go.
I hear you. And I think, barring some unforeseen thing that no one's, talking about right now in January, I think it's very, very realistic that we're going to have some level of live events back by probably sometime in the summer, and definitely by the fall, in terms of things that are, maybe club sized. Yeah, I've seen the same things about the big festivals in Europe that are already pulling the plug on stuff. Uh,
Yeah,
but the other things that are, in the hundreds, I think those could happen.
they they could, but how much is that going to pay the artist? Is that going to pay enough to justify?
Mhm.
If you only have 25% capacity, if you're only selling 25% of the tickets you normally would, is that going to pay them enough to justify renting the bus, bringing the crew along, the fuel, all the expenses that go into driving? And then once again, like we were talking about last time, there's no federal like blanket of restrictions.
Right.
So every state is different. You might be able to have 25% in Washington and only 10% in Oregon, and nothing in California, and Arizona's wide open. So you can't really book a tour like that. It has to be a blanket federal um, restriction level across the board, so that every state is the same.
Yeah, and what you had brought up last time in the interview, I've actually said the exact same thing after that with other guests when we start talking about tours and stuff, saying that you know all of those shows need to happen. You can't have I'm going to tour here in this state, and then we got to skip 3 states, and then you don't have any income
Yeah,
coming in. It just doesn't work that way. Uh,
right.
every show is important in terms of keep on the business end to keep that cash flow coming in.
Yep.
Uh, and I think the other thing that's really probably unfortunate is that I think more of that risk is going on to the artists this time when they go out. And I don't know exactly how that's going to work. That's just some of the stuff I was kind of reading online in the last 6 months, where like promoters and people that buy the shows are maybe not going to pay as much. It's like
Right.
it becomes a compounded problem. It's like, well, wait a minute, we have less fans coming into the building, so we actually need more money to make this feasible. And then you're trying to take it out or trying to put some risk on us, like maybe a percentage of the door or whatever, to make these things work. It's like, man, it's just kind of compounding the problem. But I guess we'll be, crossing that bridge when you get to it and kind of seeing what people are trying to do.
Well, from what I've kind of gathered is the pre-tour advances are they're going to try to keep them at 10%. Well, your booking agent gets 10%. So your booking agent's going to get their money first, and then you have nothing to start the tour with. Your pre-tour advances is how you fund the first few shows until you start, making that money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But now the artists themselves are going to have to fund, maybe the first week out of their pocket. So they're going to be playing shows for the first week before they even make a dime. And that's a lot of money when you count everything: the buses, the crew, the food, the fuel, everything.
Right. Yeah, and there's that risk part. It's like, geez.
Do I drop 20 grand right now and hope to make 30 by the end of the tour, or am I going to go in the hole?
Right.
And if I go in the hole, do I lose my house? Do I do this? It's something that artists are going to have to sit down and really think about before they pull the trigger on it. I have a feeling it's going to be, once the country opens, it's going to be a mad dash to be the first ones to get out there. But I don't think the lower level bands, the bands that play the smaller clubs and everything, unless they have been smart and put some money away over the years, I think the ones that live tour to tour are going to have to sit back for a while and not start right away.
That makes sense based on what you were just saying. I mean, they're not in a position to do that risk. They don't have the 20 grand or even the 10 grand probably to hope that they somehow get even and then can make their profit further into the tour. It's like they're going to be in a freaking hole that they can't get out of.
Right. Exactly.
Man. Well, again, first step is just getting the country to open back up, to where we can actually function and even consider some of these things. But I hope that happens, obviously, for yourself and for anyone else that's watching this, and for myself. I'm looking forward to the point where I can actually go not only to live events, but then doing virtual things. I can kind of schedule them where they happen to fit. So prior to the pandemic, I never did any of this kind of stuff. I know some people were doing Skype interviews and they were using some other kind of streaming things. I wasn't doing any of that. It was all in person.
Right.
And now I've got this other tool, so I can say, well, at least I've done over 100 virtual things. So if some artist or publicist says, hey, Mark, do you want to help promote this tour before it gets to Seattle? Absolutely. Let's get on and do this kind of thing. And then I can also maybe do something when I'm actually there in person at the show, at the club.
Right. Or maybe if they're not going to have time that day, maybe they have family coming in to that show. And they want to do it the night before on the bus, live stream or something, whether it's, you have to set it up ahead of time.
Right.
Richie.
Yeah, Rich.
These soap girls are beat nothing. What's wrong with you? You want me to get naked out here?
Thanks for that comment, Rich. Yeah, and I've really always had a lot of fun doing the interviews with the soap girls, and I've said this before to people if they didn't hear this, but when Richie was TMing for DOYLE, he was one of probably 2 tour managers that ever got a hold of me to set up the actual time for my interview with DOYLE before I got a hold of them. And it just doesn't happen. It's usually like a last minute thing, or I'm actually already at the club, and then they finally say, "Oh, will this time work?" And I remember Richie got a hold of me probably like around 12:30, and I was at the library. I distinctly remember this whole thing when my phone went off. He was like, "Hey, would this particular time work for the interview today?" And I'm like, "Holy shit, this guy's on top of his stuff," and I so appreciated that, and it made him just stand out completely to me. And then I met him in person at the club and all that kind of thing, and hopefully things are going well for you with the Navy and the military. Appreciate what you're doing, and it's always great to see someone realizing their dream. I know it's been something you've been wanting to do for a while, so it's really awesome, man.
I learned a lot from Richie touring with him, and I guarantee when we get back on the road, there's times I'm I'll be calling him up. Hey, we're having this problem. What would you do? And we'll work through it together. And he's always great for advice.
Awesome. Yeah. And, I mean, off the top of your head, Ed, can you think of things like you're talking about, like you're not going to let anybody mess with your guys. Doesn't matter whoever band you're working for, no one's going to be fucking with them basically.
Ask the question. Ask it.
So do you have any situations or things that came to mind where you're like, you had to step in and deal with some asshole?
There's been a couple. There was a time down in Oklahoma where I'd actually slept, and a lot of times with Doyle, if it's a long drive, I'll sleep for the show, but I'll get up and do the meet and greet. He likes me to do the meet and greet with him, me or Richie. And I woke up and Richie's like, "Hey, watch this guy over here. He's all bloody. Doyle had to hit him during the show, and he's wanting a meet and greet." And I'm like, "What?" And the guy, I guess, he was reaching up and trying to touch Doyle's junk while he was playing, and Doyle just hit him, and he's all bloody, and he's coming up to me, and he bought the meet and greet pass, and he was wanting, his meet and greet. I'm like, "Bro, you're not getting it." I'm like, you don't want Doyle to meet you. It's not that you want to meet, it's the other way. You don't want Doyle to meet you right now. So I had to take care of that and send him on his way. Um, there was there was an opening band one time. Jason, good friend of the band, Big Hoss. If he's watching this, he's awesome. Love you, brother. He was out there with us, and Bia, she's funny. The singer in this opening band. Well, first off, before the show even started, this singer, we'd been at the club all day, and the people, they knew who we were, the crew was. And so later on the night, we go to walk in after doors were open, and the singer was right in front of me, and he goes to walk in, and the lady's like, "Hey, do you have a ticket or your wristband?" And this guy was such a jackass. He goes, "Don't you know who the fuck I am?" And was really rude to this woman that worked there at this club. And I went right around him, and she let me right in. And he was just being a real dick to her. And then they disrespected some stage equipment of ours. And he tried, so after the show, he tried to come up and get a meet and greet with Doyle. And I said, "No, you don't disrespect our stuff." And then and he tried to cut in line in front of everybody else. I don't go for that either. So I told him no. And he started getting shitty. And next thing I know, Richie's yelling at him, screaming at him, top of his lungs and everything. And so after the meet and greet, me and Jason, we're outside loading up the trailer. And this guy comes up to me like almost crying, but trying to be hard. It was like 5'4" and just kind of nothing and just mad. He's like, "Doyle and we're really good friends, and I can't believe you wouldn't let me meet him." And I said, "If you're his friend, text him. He's right there on the bus. Text him if you want to get a hold of him." And he was just kind of being a dick, and I had to send him. Me and Jason were just kind of laughing at him, and we sent him in on his way. And as he pulled out, he's driving his little piece of shit car and honking at us and telling us he's going to get his gang friends after us and meet us the next night. And of course, that never happened. So yeah, there's some assholes out there, and it's not always the fans. It can be the opening band.
And
And it's just, some people are just ridiculous.
yeah, yep. And I don't have the the experience or the tour stories that you have, but just from being on the press side of things and hanging out at some of these clubs in advance. So like maybe when I've already done my interview and they say, "Mark, you can just hang out here," because I know the folks, and if they have like a paid meet and greet before the show, I can see how the fans are, and I can see how some of the workers are. Most of the time it's fine, but every now and then, yeah, you'll get this fan that comes in who thinks they're above everybody else, and
Right.
like you're talking about that opening band guy who's cutting in front of people and doing all the other shit, and it's kind of like, you know, I don't understand the mentality at all. It's just like
Right.
you're basically just being a complete asshole, and everybody knows it. And if you keep it up, someone's going to do something about it.
Well, Doyle got a bunch of shit online for saying they talked about the meet and greets, and he said something like he didn't like doing them or whatever.
Um,
And that whatever. People want to get mad, but they don't understand what we go through. Do you know how many times he's had some drunk guy spill a beer on him, or girls trying to touch his chest or try to take his clothes off, and he's got to tell people to stop. Um, he doesn't shake people's hands anymore because one night at a show, he went to shake somebody's hand and they grabbed a hold of it and tried to squeeze it real hard to try to show that they were big and bad or whatever. How does he make his money? His livelihood is based on his hands playing his guitars. If
right.
that guy would have broke his hand, that whole tour would have been gone. His whole career could have been over. And so he stopped shaking people's hands, and people got shitty about that. Big uproar over that. It's kind of stupid.
I remember that, all the online hubbub and stuff about that. And it's actually come up sometimes, not about that specific, but about things where someone will say, well, I heard so and so is a jerk. It's like, have you met them? Do you
Right.
understand? Yeah, do you understand what it's like for them to be on the road and doing? Yeah, if it's 50 shows in 50 days and all the demands that are on them, they're getting no sleep, and they're trying to do the best show that they can. And maybe someone before you was being a complete asshole to them, so now they're not trying to be an asshole to you, but now they're kind of in not the best of moods, and they don't mean to be kind of standoffish with you. But there's all kinds of factors that the fans don't understand. Um,
Right.
and luckily, some fans do understand. Say, yeah, no, artists go through all kinds of stuff on the road. It's not easy.
Well, what people don't understand is, and when Doyle said he doesn't like doing meet and greets, this is just my take on it because I never talked to him. I mean, I did talk to him about it, but that's between us. The
Mhm.
way I see it, though, is you do something. Say you're a plumber for 30 years, and you get paid to unclog 5 toilets a day, and then all of a sudden they come to you and say, "Hey, you're going to have to unclog 5 toilets and 5 sinks, and we're going to pay you less than just doing the toilets." That's kind of how the music business went. You're going to have to tour so much more, but you're not going to make as much money. But you have to do it. That's your livelihood. And then they add the extras in, the unclog the sinks. That's the meet and greets. You have to do it to make the money, but you're still making less than what you were 20 years ago just doing your shows. So it's extra work, less money. I can see his point. Um, and people, when he did that, there's a funny story about that. When he said that, that's why he said he hates it because it's extra work. It's not because he hates meeting the fans or anything. Most of the time, the respectful fans and everything, he'll sit there and talk to you for 5-10 minutes. But people don't realize that's a business transaction. The meet and greets, it's not, you know, here, you're my friend now. Here's my phone number. Call me on Saturday. No, you're paying for your, you know, 30 seconds, 60 seconds to get some things signed, get a picture with them, say hello, whatever. People just take it too far. Now, one time we did a show in San Diego, and we pull in at like 2 in the afternoon. And there's this kid. He's probably 20 years old. He's sitting in front of the door, waiting for us. He's got his Misfits albums, and very respectful, very nice. He didn't get in our way. We did our job. Very nice kid. And for that, for him being that way, I gave him a free meet and greet. I gave him his pass and everything. I got his, I was able to get his record signed for him and everything. That night, he added me on Facebook as a friend. Okay, that's cool. A little while later, Doyle gives this interview, and people are all up in arms about it. And this kid commented on it, and he said, "Well, I guess I'll never buy a meet and greet again." And I said, "You motherfucker, you mean the free meet and greet I gave you?" People just want to jump on that bandwagon of hating on somebody because they think it's cool. Because somebody else is mad at somebody, well, then let's join that group and hate on them. When they really don't know the whole story. Think about it. Think if somebody came to your work every day and just dumped beer all over you. It's no wonder people don't want to do it, but they have to.
Yeah, no, I love your analogy about the plumber and the sinks. And
Yeah.
more work, less money. And I knew as soon as that stuff was going on, that's what he was talking about. Just like you said, he doesn't hate the fans. It's how this industry changed to a point where he's got to do more work. He's getting less money,
Right.
and why can't we go back to where people were buying all of the music that's being put out instead of downloading it, stealing it, copying it, using apps and all kinds of other things, and also with
Right.
the streaming services not paying shit for all the streams that people listen to these days.
Right.
Yeah, I totally understood where that was, and yeah, for that guy that or that kid or whoever that was nice initially, and you gave the free meet and greet, for him to have to jump on that bandwagon, it's just like
Right.
you should be
Well,
the he should have been one of those saying, no, things are don't you're not looking at the perspective of what's going on here, and in my case, look what they did for me.
right. All it
But
was I'm glad, or I'll never buy another meet and greet again. And he said he was going to give away his autographs. He said he was just going to give them away to somebody because he didn't want them anymore. He didn't want Doyle's autograph anymore.
oh shit.
Stupid asshole. That just pissed me off, And people don't understand. We give away a lot of meet and greets. If there's kids in the audience, if there's a kid 12 years old or younger in the audience rocking out, meet and greet easily, And that goes for the kid. And if he has his mom with him and his dad with him and his uncle, they all get it. It's not just the kid; it's the whole group.
That's
Come with us.
That's awesome, and I know Alex has done things for certain fans, certain situations. We'll talk about that. Just meet me at the show. I'll make sure that you get on there, and you can meet everybody afterwards. And it's just like, yeah, if you're a respectful fan, you have a unique situation. If it's a young kid, and you want to make sure that they have that best experience of not only seeing the band on stage, but they get to see them after the show and actually get a picture or get something signed. See what Beatrice is talking about too. I can only imagine. Doyle's been doing this for such a long time. All the kind of shit he's had to put up with for the decades he's been doing this. And then, Beatrice, in your case, people know you from your imagery and your band and everything that you do. That they just think that it's almost like you're an object. Like somehow they can just kind of do whatever they think they want to do, and they don't realize you're a freaking person.
There was a night with Bia. I don't know if she remembers this or not, but we were doing a show. And I was standing on the side of the stage, and she was up in the front, up against the gate, taking pictures.
Mhm.
And there was some guys being rough with her there. And so I made my way through the crowd, and I stood right behind her and put my arms on the fence right here, and she was right here,
Yeah,
you know. So I protected her on three sides, and then the fence was here, and she got to finish taking her pictures. But these guys next to me, they were bumping into her, running into her. I don't know if they were grabbing her or what, but it just wasn't going to happen on my watch. So that's an example of, I'm not going to let anything bad happen to anybody on our crew.
yeah. Well, no, that's great that you did that, and it sucks that those assholes were trying to get rough with her and see, even like again for myself on the media level things that I know some of the other I know a lot of the other media members around here, especially the ones that are female, and we all can watch out for each other. And I'm not I'm not the biggest guy. I'm 5'5", but still, if I see something that's wrong, I'm going to try to do something about it. Because
I've seen you take a knife. I ain't messing with you.
yeah, that's true. but yeah, right is right, wrong is wrong, and
Exactly.
that's what it boils down to. And Beatrice saying, "You saved me for real." And I'm sorry, Captain Blackwood. I know you said hi earlier. That you were doing some house cleaning while you got this on. So hi to you and Industrial Girl. I'm glad that you didn't leave. Yeah, this is too interesting, huh? Ed's a great guest, and he's got all kinds of cool things to talk about, just like he did the first time. And we're doing it now, and I think we're going to have to do that part 3 somewhere, in the next month or two, and we'll dig in some more.
I don't know how much more time we have left, but I want to talk about something that we did for Christmas for the foster kids here in my county
Mm-hmm.
that
Sure.
that we live in. So my wife, I told you before, she's amazing. She works for the county here, and they sent out a blast email to all the county employees that said, "Hey, we're doing Christmas stockings for the kids in foster care here in our county." And she knew I'd want to help out with it. I mean, she sent it to me, but she knew what my answer was. And so I reached out to the county lady that was in charge of it and found out there was 50 teenagers in the foster system. Now, what people don't realize is when people send stuff to help out the foster care system, it's usually for the small kids. People don't realize there's teenagers that
Mhm.
need help too. So, and I remember from my days, I spent some time, in a few foster homes here and there, and I knew if I just had a CD, if I just had some kind of music, it would make it so much better. So I reached out to some friends and asked if they wanted to help out, and the response I got was unbelievable. We had I would come home from work and I would have packages and packages sitting on the doorstep from people. Um, Bruce Miyake and everyone at Dead Girls Corp, boxes of CDs, shirts, all kinds of stuff. DOYLE, everybody at DOYLE, shirts, CDs, patches, stickers, um, hoodies, hockey jerseys, all kinds of shit. Jerry Only sent boxes and boxes of autographed toys, Misfits Jerry Only toys. Larissa Vale and Black Satellite, everyone at Black Satellite, all everything you can think of, face masks, music, CDs, um, stickers, all kinds of shit. Cobra Page sent these beautiful pre-made stockings that she had made herself and filled them with so much stuff. We had By the time we got done, and my wife and I, we went shopping and we made sure every stocking had earbuds. They all had journals, pens, some candies, some, just a bunch of stuff. And then we made these stockings. We had so many that we had too many. And I ended up putting a post on Facebook for the county I live in. If anybody needs help, if you have teenagers and they need stockings, let me know. And I spent 3 days driving all over our county delivering stockings to people that I don't know. They just messaged me and they needed help. I could not believe the response, and it's something I'm so proud of, and I can't wait till next year. I want to do it again. There was every stocking had at least 4 different CDs in it from different bands. It was just amazing, and digital download cards from even more CDs. More albums. It was just amazing. I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome for you and your wife to do that. We had kind of mentioned before we had set up, or actually during when we were setting this interview up, that I had worked with some students in the foster care system for one of my professional jobs, and it was everyone from like 5-year-olds up to 17-year-olds in high school. And anytime someone like yourself and your wife do something like that and reach out to your friends in your circle and do something that you're right. I'm sure those kids were just completely floored by something because it's fucking something cool.
Right.
It's
And that was my point. Was like I said, when I was in foster care, I would have loved to have just had some headphones and some music, just to take me away, take me out of that situation for a little while. So that's why we wanted to focus on the teenagers.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, again, that's so awesome that you did that, and it's awesome. That sounds it's probably gonna be like a tradition, like every December you're probably gonna try to
yeah,
do something.
I,
And
I'd like to. It was pretty funny. We had my wife and my son and we had like a factory line, if you want to call it that, where we had a pile of this and a pile of this and a pile, and we would just pass a stocking along and just fill it up and fill it up. I'm waiting. I live in a small county here, and I'm sure nobody else here listens to DOYLE or anything like that, or if they do, it's not out in the public. So I'm waiting to go to Walmart or something and see some kid with a DOYLE shirt on. Like, yeah, I know where he got that.
Oh yeah, no, again, that it's. I'm a very empathetic person. I started off as a teacher in the public school system. I've worked in a lot of community-based agencies, working with at-risk gang involved students, foster care, all kinds of different populations, and it's a part of who I am. Even like right now, and we were talking about this before the show, that it looks like I'm probably gonna be shifting my survival job to something that I don't consider a survival job, because it will be back in that field. And it's like there's so much need and so much things that get overlooked. And you had a good point about, especially for the foster care system, about age. People don't think
Yeah,
about 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 year olds.
right.
And they may have been in the system for years,
Yeah,
uh, and been bounced around, 100 times, like realistically 100 times, because I had those kind of caseloads, and you'd see, like, it just made me, your heart breaks when you see that kind of thing. And
yeah,
then if I got a chance to actually meet the student at their school and find out that they're a really cool kid and somehow they persevered through all of this kind of stuff, you want to do everything in your power to try to, make things as right as I can from my angle of what I was doing. And so for someone like yourself and your wife and your son to, take that initiative and jump on that opportunity and just, really go out there to help people. Yeah, massive respect to you guys. That's just awesome.
thank you. Appreciate that. I I just, I want, like, for me, music is like a time machine, and I can listen to something that made me really happy when I was a kid, when I was 14 years old or 12, and then hopefully, 20 years from now, some kid from here who's grown up, in 20 years can listen to a Doyle CD or a Black Satellite CD or something and be like, "This makes me happy." This saved me heartache, as a kid. I don't know where I got it, where it came from. It was just in a stocking one day at Christmas. It helped. And
Yeah.
I may never know that it helped them. And that's fine. It's not my place to know. But it's there if needed.
Yeah, it's the whole idea that um, you're doing something and you're not looking for something in return. You're just hoping that, yeah, somehow this is going to make someone's day better,
Right.
someone's holiday season better. And yeah, and I bet you were right that it could be 10 years down the road that they remember that time when they got that stocking and they got some really cool stuff in there. And yeah, they could be lifelong fans of those bands, and maybe they didn't know who they were, and now they do.
Right.
Most
I forgot I need to add Cancer Slug to that too. Now, I was kind of iffy about putting Cancer Slug stuff in there, but I had to do it. So we just took some stuff out of our personal collection that we had and just, you know, if it helped the kids better than us, then fine. It just sat around. We had stuff that just sat around here, that we had collected. Hey, give it to the kids. Who cares? It's just stuff, right?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, and um, I'm thinking there's probably gonna, yeah, that'd be awesome. Depending on, like, what cancer slug items you gave them, if some of those kids become part of the slug cult.
That would be awesome, right?
Yeah, and if it's I don't know where it came from. I just got this thing in the stocking in December, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And, and then they were
Right.
like, doing their research on, whatever device they have access to, and then start listening or looking at stuff on YouTube, and just off they go.
Hopefully they don't listen to it in front of their foster parents, or temporary temporary people they're living with. First song comes on his girlfriend or something.
Yeah. Hey, Industrial Girl. Yeah, totally understand that. Thanks for joining us again today, and have a good afternoon, good evening down there in East LA. And I'll see you at the next stream most likely. So yeah, have a good one, Industrial Girl.
Thank you for checking it out.
Yeah. Is there anything, Ed, that you've been listening to lately that's like really really resonating with you, or you're kind of going back to like certain classic things?
Um, I really love, for the past few years, I really love female voices.
Hmm.
Um, so I've been listening to a lot of, um, I've listened to Jack Off Jill for years, but Jessica's voice, I just love it. Um, I've listened to a lot of Dax Riggs lately. Love Dax. That's my holy grail of people to work with, is Dax. If I got to work with Dax, that'd probably be my last tour. I'd just be like, okay, I've won. I give up. um, Jen Wigmore is another one. Her voice is just amazing. That's my two holy grail tours. Dax Riggs, and Jen Wigmore. I don't know if you ever listened to her, but she's great. I just listen to that. I listen, of course, to the Misfits and um, Typo Negative. Been listening to a lot of Wasp lately. Um, can we do something to get you know Blackie and Chris Holmes back together? I mean, come on, that would be a good tour to see Wasp back together. Who else? I mean, just I listen to a lot of uh, what's the station? Lithium on Sirius. A lot of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and
Hmm.
the '90s
Mhm.
grunge and alternative. Um, I go through phases. I might listen to nothing but hair bands one day,
Mhm.
and then the next day I'm listening to you know '80s pop, Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson. I appreciate all music. I love music. I'll listen to one day I'll be listening to rap all day. It just all depends on the mood and the day.
That sounds like me. It's very much mood dictates my musical choice, for sure.
Right.
Sometimes I want to hear some freaking atmospheric black metal, and then the next day, or even later in that same day, I might be listening to some country music. It just kind of
Yeah.
depends on where I'm at, and I think that we're of the same mindset that we're like music junkies.
Yeah.
That I love all kinds of music, and I'll never stop liking and being turned on to new music. So I love it when fans will post about something or just even tell me about something. Say, Mark, have you checked this out? And I'll go check it out, because I don't want to miss out on stuff. There's so much
Right.
stuff out there that I only know the tip of the iceberg. There's tons of bands out there that I have no clue of right now. They're freaking awesome, and at some point, I hope they come across my purview.
Right. And that's the only way you find music nowadays is just through, you know, word of mouth because there's so much on the computer. It's so diluted that you don't want to go through everything and
Hmm.
look and see if you like something. Or in my case, anyways, I'm not. You send me requests to like your band or check out your band. I'm not going to do it. I mean, if you're watching this and you keep sending me the stupid things to check out your band, I'm not going to fucking do it. Stop. But if my friend tells me, "Hey, check out this band. They're pretty cool," then I'll give it a
Right.
listen. But God, I get so many Facebook and Instagram messages. Hey, check out my band, and I'm like, no, I don't fucking want to. I mean, it might be the greatest band in the world, but there's too many. I don't. My brain can't handle all that at once.
Yeah, well, and I would also think that some of them are, maybe doing that and they're not being completely above board with you. They might want you to check out the band because they know who you're connected to.
Yeah, that won't get you anywhere either.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
And you mentioned Blackie Lawless and Chris Holmes. Did you ever see Wasp back in the day? I'm just curious.
No.
Yeah, see, I didn't either. But I do have a story that I remember. So there was an independent shop that basically had rock and heavy metal stuff in Bellevue, Washington. It was called Easy Street Records. Not with the Easy Street that's still here. Those are two different businesses for people that are local. But they'd have a wall you'd walk into. So like that's where I first saw the Animal Fuck Like a Beast 12-inch single from Europe. They had the advisory sticker or whatever you want to call it back then. I think I still have that record.
The PMRC sticker.
Yeah, it had the black thing on there, and so it was right before the,
Yeah.
the self-titled album came out in America. And I just remember that I was, I don't know how many of my friends borrowed that record from me. And they're like, who is this? And I was way into that kind of stuff, trying to find out about these bands before they started to break over here. And when I got to high school, my binder had an open sleeve thing. We could put pictures in it or whatever. And I had a picture of, I think it was from Kerrang, of Blackie like fighting the PMRC with a bunch of like army gear on him and that kind of stuff. So anytime we turned in our binders in our rows, people would be looking back and be like, what the fuck is this on your binder?
Can it's so funny how the PMRC, how everything they did just backfired on them. I
Mm.
mean, you go on TV, Tipper Gore went on TV and held up a copy of Fuck Like a Beast. And what did that do? It made everybody want to go buy it.
Yep.
They brought D. Snyder in.
Hmm.
Famous video of D. Snyder came in, makeup still on from the night before, and he pulls out a speech out of his pocket that's all crumbled up, and he's flattened it out on the table. And they're thinking in their minds, yeah, we got this. This guy's an idiot. And then he started talking, and they realized that he was smart, and
Yep.
he destroyed them.
Yep.
I think after that, they were pretty much done.
They were, and that's exactly the way to put it. Because I remember, regardless of what anyone thinks of D and Twisted Sister and that kind of thing, I will always remember him doing that, because it was him and John Denver and Frank Zappa. They're
Yep.
the ones representing, the music industry. It's like, where's everybody else?
Yeah.
And you're right. They immediately judged the book by its cover when they looked at D and said, "Yeah, he's a freaking dirtbag. He's not going to have any 2 brain cells in there."
Right.
Yeah, and he just put them in their place. And I loved it.
As soon as he started talking, it was over with. You could tell that they were done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird to think about that, and where music is now,
Right.
and in terms of what's out there and how maybe extreme it's gotten, or whatever you want to call it.
And how accessible it is now. Easily accessible.
Yeah, everything's at your fingertips,
Right.
and not even just music. If you're talking about adult content and everything else. I mean,
Right.
for someone as being a parent like yourself, I don't know how it is trying to raise kids in this kind of day and age where everything can be so accessible.
Well, I mean, we got lucky. Our youngest son's 15. He'll be 16 next month. Straight A's, you know, good kid, doesn't get in trouble. I'm sure he's looking at porn on his phone. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. But whatever. Until he does something really wrong,
Hmm.
then I'll worry about it. But for now, he's a great kid. Hangs out with us. He comes to shows. He's in a couple Cancer Slug videos actually.
Oh,
He loves it. They came down to. I was on tour with Doyle, and we were in Huntsville. We did the 2 shows,
oh, yeah.
the Cancer Slug Doyle,
Right, right.
and so my wife and my son Brennan drove down, and they weren't going to let my son in because he wasn't 18. And Alex, being Alex, he says if they don't let him in, I won't play. And never would I expect him to go through with that. That's his job. I'm not going to let my problem become his problem. But then, so we're standing outside, and Alex was like, "Come on, you're coming in," and took him right into the green room. And as a little fuck you to the club, he's like, "Hey." And there was another kid there. There's a guy named Jeremy, really nice guy. He had his son there too, and I brought him in with my son. And Alex is like, as a little fuck you to the club, he's like, "Hey, you guys want to go set up water on the stage? Help us set up the stage so that the whole club and the owners and everybody's seeing these kids up there." And so then during the show, my son's standing side stage with me, and they filmed it, and they released a couple videos, and so you see him a couple times in the video. He loves it.
Okay. That's awesome. I love hearing those kind of stories, and particularly for for young people. And
Right.
and that doesn't surprise me one iota that Alex did that.
I judge a person by, like, you could be an asshole to me all day, whatever it is, it is what it is. But I'll judge you how you treat my family, my wife, and my son. And Alex, that night did that. A few months ago, he's like, he sends me a text, "Hey, I just PayPal'd you some money. Get the boy a video game." Just out of nowhere. I'm like, "Really?" Doyle, I come home from work one day, and there's a box on our porch, and it's a guitar amp for my son. He's been playing guitar. He's been trying, learning. Doyle just out of nowhere sends a guitar amp for him, brand new. I thought, you know what? This is amazing. This is why I love what I do. And it still baffles me, like, is it real? Sometimes I gotta pinch myself, and this goes back to those times when I'm in the middle of a long drive, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck did I do? Why am I doing this? And then I remember these other things. You know, Forever my son can be like, "Hey, one of the guys from the Misfits sent me an amp. What'd you get? Fuck you." Sort of thing. That's just a good memory.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome memory to have that kind of thing happen, and yeah, like you're saying, to have someone like Alex or Doyle or anyone else do that kind of thing, or like all the folks that donated during the Christmas for the stockings. And you've been around some really good people. And that also
Yeah,
means that it also says something about you, because that means they think highly of you. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
true. You're probably right. I guess I've never thought about it that way.
The two-way street, my friend.
Yeah,
Well, Ed, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll let everybody know right now, we will definitely do a part 3 of this. I will commit to that right now during the live stream. So we will have a part 3 of this. But
awesome. Maybe then I can go into more detail, but for now, all I can say is 50 states, 50 shows in 50 days.
awesome, man. Yeah, I hope it comes, very, very soon. And everyone that's joined us for the live stream, again, thank you so much for taking the time. Ed, thank you for taking the time.
Well, thank
And
you. I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you for round 3 sometime fairly soon, another month or two. And yeah, we'll see where things are at that point.
Sounds good. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.